It happened again this week.
As far as I can tell, I've been totally successful. I've shut this entire down.
Joining me now with reaction is conservative author, filmmaker, I just talked about him, Dinesh D'Souza, along with Andy No. He's the journalist and editor at Quillette. And here with me on set is Victor Davis Hanson, Hoover Institution Senior Fellow and author of the fantastic new book, The Case for Trump. It's great to have you all on tonight. I'm taking this really seriously because I'm concerned it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Andy, I want to start with you. You filmed this incident at Portland State. Now, you saw the response from the college. It was rather, it was rather nothing, if you ask me. Police and campus administrators did nothing to defuse the situation, and they claimed that's what kept it safe. And you say?
Well, what's happening is that the heckler's vetoes works on American university campuses. On Tuesday night, one Antifa anarchist with the cowbell was able to shut down a college Republicans event at Portland State University, while campus police and campus administrators stood from the back and watched. They did absolutely nothing.
But they said they did nothing because to do something would have provoked this guy who before, it was giving a speech about gun rights and so forth, and they kind of threw that into their letter as well. But I want to play one more clip, Dinesh, from this Portland protester. Note what he says at the end.
I stand for the civil rights of everybody.
Oh, you say that, but last time you were here on campus, quite a few trans people got assaulted by people that came to your speech last time you were here on campus.
I don't believe I've ever spoken on campus.
Oh, have you not?
I don't think so.
Weird. That's so weird. I wonder what gave me that source. Oh, yeah, I just made it up, because I can make if I want.
Dinesh, he admits he just made up the accusations. Now, is this kind of a common tactic for the anti-free speech thugs?
Well, first of all, it's important to realize that the level of repression of speech on campus now is new. I've been speaking on the campus for 25 years. We've had episodic cases like this, but it has now become systematic. The last 4 events I did, Dartmouth College, Michigan State, American University, Stanford, disruptions at every single event of varying types, but all aimed at intimidating the conservative students and shutting down, if possible, the event. I think the roots of this actually go back to what a California professor in the 60s advocated. He basically said that we should be tolerant, we on the left should be tolerant, but we should not be tolerant of intolerance. And so what the left is doing here is using this kind of idea that they're fighting intolerance, except that they're fighting conservatism, they're fighting Republican values, and they're taking on people who are not advocating intolerance, but just advocating a different point of view.
Now, that's a great point, because if you're fighting against Hitler, then you, by all means, any means necessary, defeat Hitler. If conservatism, Donald Trump, is Hitler, then you can just take them all out. Victor, you've been writing about this for years. The Washington Post had an op-ed today that made this case that more speech, controls will actually hurt conservatives. They claimed it would probably just amount to a deeper distrust and increase vitriol and more partisan conflict. So they're saying, no, just let this all play out.
They sound like characters in Orwell's 1984. When we want to know where this came from, the guy with a cowbell didn't think this up. He's a product of an educational system that really says that segregation is a safe space and censorship is a trigger warning and free speech is hate speech. And so they've been taught that any means are justified because they have this noble equality, social just ends. And how do you, and there was also a sin not just of commission in education, but omission. What did he not be taught? He wasn't taught about how rare free speech is in history, from the Greeks to the Romans, the Renaissance. It's this thin, and it's always cut. And it was really a gift, and he would go in and destroy it, and he doesn't realize that only in places in the United States and Europe does it even exist, and he'd throw it away for nothing, like a buffoon. And the question is, how do you stop it? And
well, I just laid out some ideas.
I would add one. Could I add one?
Yeah, add one, please. We need all the help we can get.
I think no alumnus should ever give money.
Oh, that was in my original script. Oh. You took it from me.
Okay.
It was too long.
Without targeting the money, he has to target the money and never give.
Cut off the money to these schools that don't protect free speech rights.
I will give it to this program or this program that I can certify, but I'm not going to give money because it's like giving narcotics to an addict.
Well, Andy, the problem is a lot of these colleges have huge endowments. If you're talking about the Ivy League schools, even places like Michigan, they have multi-billion-dollar endowments. So unlike when Dinesh and I were at Dartmouth, where they really felt the pain of alumni saying, whoa, 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 we're not giving. Now they have this, they have kind of a realm of insulation around them. So what, Andy, given everything you've seen, what's next in this battle for free speech? And what do you suggest that conservatives, parents and students do about it?
Well, it doesn't look like university administrators are being part of the solution. Portland State has made it absolutely crystal clear that they are only going to intervene when there is imminent physical violence or property destruction. In other words, they're providing a blueprint for how to shut down an event. You don't even need a mob anymore. You can just have one person with a cowbell or a bullhorn. I think perhaps this is evidence that Trump's free speech executive order is needed.
Dinesh, I think about $41 million. How much, guys, gave to Portland State? $41.8 million in federal research money went to Portland State for this kind of thing to happen.
I think that Trump's step is an important first step, but it's only the beginning. I mean, as this stuff escalates, when you have Antifa violence in places like Berkeley, let's remember Berkeley is a state university. It's fully accountable to the First Amendment. And the First Amendment is not less valuable than, say, the 14th Amendment, which protects civil rights. So if I were Trump, I would consider, in extreme circumstances, sending in the National Guard, because sending in force to protect basic constitutional rights is actually an appropriate use of force. I also think conservatives should not back down in the face of these threats. A few years ago, Condoleezza Rice was offered a graduation slot, I believe at Rutgers University. There was a ruckus on campus, and she graciously withdrew, ladylike, basically saying, I don't want to speak if they don't want me to speak. But the problem with that kind of surrender is it makes it impossible for that kind of event to occur in the future.
Yeah, it's raising the white flag of surrender, even if she did it, because she doesn't want to be the focus of any discontent on, and which I understand that too. Victor, there's another, want you to get a response to another statement we got today from Portland State's Director of Media and Public Relations, Kenny Ma. We asked him if the university supports free speech or the oppression of free speech and what the university is doing to promote free speech on campus. Here's what he said. We support free speech on campus. The meeting by the college Republicans was disrupted. It was not shut down. It continued after the disruption. But is that good enough? So you can, if students are busy, they're studying. They have a lot of amount of time to go to something.
That's like saying I'm going to destroy this studio and you're going to still broadcast at midnight, and it was okay. It was excuse that behavior. So look. I think that all these guys that act like they're Woodstock 2.0, and you see these guys with long hair and antifa, we think they're not careerists. They're in college or from the affluent classes in large part. If they had a criminal conviction or they had an expulsion from a university, and I know people my age that happened to, and they still worry about it, that would be a deterrent act. But they do this because they feel that they're either going to be rewarded or there's no consequences. So you're right about that. But if you started expelling and arresting these kids, and
what did we talk about with the Kavanaugh? With you have Julie Swetnick and people making false allegations or leaking information from the committee, Dianne Feinstein's office. Yeah. You can't just let it go.
No, and you saw what the Washington Post did when they were threatened with that
lawsuit.
Absolutely.
Lawsuit by the Parkland.
They're not courageous social justice. They react.
Covington Catholic.
Absolutely.
Andy, do you agree with that? That we need federal action. In some cases, there could be state action, university action. Alumni pressure, as Dinesh said. Maybe parents decide they're not going to send these kids to these lousy schools, and they're going to go to, lousy because they don't protect free speech, not because they're not great departments. But they're going to go to other schools. Maybe they'll go to University of Chicago, or they'll go to, I don't know, Liberty or Hillsdale, or whatever school says we're going to protect free speech. They could corner the market on a lot of conservative parents who want to send their kids to a place they think is safe to express their truth. Andy.
Everybody across the political spectrum needs to take these incidents more seriously. What's happening is the equivalent of modern-day book burnings. It's people using the heckler's veto to stop the access of information. And the fact that we have those on the left who are downplaying or dismissing these incidents is doing a disservice to the cause of what the university mission is about, which is about open inquiry.
Yeah, Dinesh, this is the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, otherwise known as FIRE. Their statistics on schools. 90% of colleges and universities restrict speech. Only 9% of institutions do not maintain any policies that compromise student expression. Almost 800,000 college students attend an institution that maintains one of these, ironically named free speech zones. So what do you tell parents out there who, even if they're not conservative, just don't like this police state atmosphere on college campuses? What do you tell them today?
I think the parents and the alumni shouldn't just withhold money. They should actually be more of an activist presence on the campus, and they should actually support the cops. I noticed in the Michigan State incident where the student was yelling and screaming, the police were intimidated. These are working-class cops who are intimidated by upper-class students because they know that the students have the backing of the administration. So the cops are scared of the students. If the cops were empowered, they would do their job. But they're not empowered by the university itself.
Victor, let you close that out. That's true. It's true on city streets, too, real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we've seen one of these incidents taped or videoed, when somebody's confronted after they provoke somebody, they back down. Because Dinesh is right. As we pointed out, they're upper middle class kids that don't want any consequences, and they've been told by their professors that behavior is rewarded.
They're coddled kids, and most of them are total cowards.
No, they're cowards,
they're
absolutely.
Cowards.
They don't do this with working class kids on working. You don't ever see this on junior college campuses.
No, that
because there's guys that are working as a mechanic, and they would handle it.
All right, phenomenal panel. We're giving actual, real-world ideas, okay, to try to address this.